Hi, my name is Christian Millard. I have four note cards. They're just sticky notes. I don't have any note cards. I have one audience member. Okay, so my topic for speech two is Garner State Park, which I chose for the place I'd like to share. I've been there twice, and I really do enjoy it. It's a really nice place. It's in Concan, if y'all know where that is. It's in Uvalde country, um, and it's about 31 miles north of New Valda. Um, let's see. It's really pretty out there. It has a stream or the Frio River running straight through it, and the kind of main attraction or the eye catcher is a plateau or a mesa that stretches like thousands of feet up in the air and kind of arose millions of years ago. And walking up it, there's a lot of limestone. It's made out of a lot of limestone cliffs on like three sides, and it just slopes down on the far back side, which I'll share a little bit later. Um, it's a pretty neat place. There's a lot of hill country and a lot of vegetation. Really, a lot of places to go fishing and hiking and biking, and a little history behind it. Basically, we're gonna start with the Frio, which was mainly used for like water resources and a lot of resources such as stone for tools or crops or fishing, like thousands and thousands of years ago. And when settlers started coming over, it was used as a trade route for the Spanish explorers, where they would come with animals and goods and whatever else they brought with them. They would use that as a trade route through Texas, and doing so, the natives or the Indians ended up getting their hands on horses. So they became very skilled and learned to use that. And the Comanches and the Apaches ended up using the horses to gain an advantage over other tribes and other enemies against theirs. And they ended up conquering that part of the land. And when you go there, there's a lot of preserved artifacts that are there, like in the main office, and all kinds of stones with fossils and stuff in them. It's pretty dang cool. And farther along, after the Comanches, the Anglo settlers from San Antonio ended up coming through and settling down. Ended up using the Frio River for resources and tools, just like settlers way back then. And they grew lots of crops and raised cattle around there, and ended up using it just as the people before them did. And as more and more people came over, the Magers family, they were of German descent, ended up coming over from Germany over to Texas, ended up gaining that land through coming over, and ended up opening part of that land in the 1920s as a vacation spot, since it was so pretty and that plateau was part of that land. And since it was becoming very popular for families to go on vacations and go out to places that were kind of out of the ordinary and pretty cool to go camping at. And their land ended up getting bought out by the CCC, which is the Civilian Conserve Corporation, which they would take parks and then pieces of land and end up making them into parks, and they would later donate that park to the state, making it a state park or a park owned by the state, and ended up naming it after a Uvalde native, which his name was John Nance Garner. He ended up being the vice president in the mid 1930s to the early 1940s, and they ended up naming that after him. And when I went, I only went hiking and did a little bit of swimming, but there's all kinds of events down there I didn't even know. And I looked on TripAdvisor, which is a website where people write in reviews about what they did and how they think about them. And one couple added a review about doing rock art, which I didn't know they had there. So apparently they would get a lot of those chunks of limestone that would come down, and they'd get a group of kids or a group together and do artwork with that. And they have horseback riding, fishing, a lot of fly fishing out there when I went, hiking, biking, camping, and cooking and whatever else you can do in nature. And that's pretty much all I have for this speech. And that was Garner State Park.